Hey everybody, what's up? It's Tipping the Scales. I'm Shay Dawson.
I'm Tania Rivers, aka T. Welcome back, everyone. Happy to see you again.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us and listening. We have a great episode today. One of my beautiful friends, Monica McNutt. Welcome.
Hey, y'all. I'm thrilled
Monica.
to be here. Hey. I'm so excited to have this conversation. I love what the pod represents. Shay, you know, we've been in this thing, making it happen. T, congrats to you and all that you're doing. Also, shout out to your son and those sons. Let's go.
Thank you so much. Shout out to you and all your success.
Thank you.
You're making moves.
Trying to, child, be part of the solution and not the problem, right?
I feel like this is going to be this is amazing. This is going to be a fun episode today. I can tell.
Yeah, so we have Monica McNutt in the building. Thank you, God, that she had time. She's sipping her tea today. For those of you who are not watching it and listening.
Show them the cup. Show them the cup, Monica, just in case.
You know, come on now.
Okay.
But Monica is one of the world's brightest, new, budding, beautiful Black faces in sports journalism. She has given it to us in the realest way possible, which is one of the million reasons why I love her. So, Monica, thank you for being on today. And T, she's also a Libra, so she is one of our fellow Libras.
Oh, when's your birthday?
Hold on, skirt.
Oh, you're 24th, so you're not.
No.
Other side. Sorry, gang. Scorpius in the building.
Well, you're
just
close.
hanging right on that. I'm close, but we in that same late in the year birthday realm. But
so what's in terms of Scorpios? What is Scorpios known for?
Yeah.
So it's funny because I'm not wildly into this, but I do like the idea of being a Scorpio.
Okay.
I think the thing that I've always read when I do check into these things is the straightforward nature, right?
Uh-huh.
Not gonna
that
cut
you
cards.
are.
And so that fits. Now the little slick and deceitful stuff, I'm actually a terrible liar, which is why I'm straightforward. I don't know about that part of it all,
Right.
but that part in terms of just communicating and saying what you mean aligns with me.
Good. I was going to say it's perfect because it fits on our pod because Shay and I talk about all the time the importance of being transparent and authentic. That's what we want our show to be about. And I think our listeners kind of expect that from every single guest that's on our podcast now. So you fit right in, Monica.
I'm glad to hear it.
Man. And so Monica and I met at Overtime in the New York office. She literally is everywhere now, though. She's like literally taking off on fire. MSG. I've seen her at NBA Summer League, Sports Center, First Take.
Making moves.
Literally. Yeah. So we're going to go back to the beginning, but right now I just want to understand like the pandemic happened and then take us from how you just started sizzling it and popping up all these places. Like, let everybody know, like, because I feel like the pandemic was a bandemic for you.
Yeah, hello? Come on now, let me write that down. I know, right? I need to use that word.
That was good, Shay. I like that.
She was quick with it. It's so crazy because, okay, I got to rewind on my personal timeline a little bit.
Yep.
2018. Yeah. Heading into 2018, heading into 2019, like I was ready to go teach English and coach basketball and do this on the side. Like I was coming up on 2 years of trying to navigate and bounce back from a layoff and it wasn't working. And so for me, faith being a huge part of who I am in my life, I was like, all right, God, bet. So I had already dealt with uncertainty in terms of this career space. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, a couple things break my way December of 18. And we pick up steam enough to say, okay, just give it time. You can still do this full time. Along the way, we meet at overtime, so on and so forth. So fast forward to the pandemic hitting, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, been here, done that in terms of uncertainty.
Right.
Unfortunately, ESPN and MSG, everybody got hip to the Zoom television and the whole thing. So we made it work from our homes, and I was still able to bring the energy that I'm so proud of to those spaces. But in the pandemic, it was just about something that I have always said, which is you have to be your own biggest advocate, right?
Yeah, like that.
And so I was in to ESPN as a women's college basketball analyst. Cool, great.
Right.
But the last time I checked, basketball is played the same way, no matter the gender or the level. Just checking. Few different rule tweaks. And so
but the ball still bounces down the court. So.
Hello, the baskets are 2s and 3s last time I checked. Like, what's up? So I had a friend who was a Sports Center producer, and she and I worked together at one of my first stops in my career down in South Florida. And we were just talking back and forth. And I'm like, Tori, I want to do X, Y, Z. She's like, okay, bet. Like, email this person, email that person. And so I got, the email thing out. Hey, women's college basketball is wrapping up. I'm interested in following someone like a Doris Burke. If you guys need NBA analysts on some of the grunt shifts, let me know. Like, I'm available.
Ooh, grunt
Girl,
shifts.
this was, girl, this was March. I remember March of 2020, yeah. Or 2021 rather. And I was like, okay, I'm just tired. Like, we're finally traveling again. Like, things are going to slow down because college basketball is going to end at the end of March.
Yeah.
One little 7 a.m. Sports Center. And it was like, pew! No, just kidding. You thought you were slowing down. Not actually. Like, now you're doing 7 a.m. Sports Center 3 times a week. Hey, you want to do Around the Horn? The Around the Horn story is hilarious because I was in my bathroom giving transparency on this podcast, and everybody gets the robocalls of your car warranty or something crazy. So I'm like, please take my number off this list. Hey, this is Aaron Solomon, the producer of Around the Horn. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Hey, how are you? How can I help you? Right. And so that's how that happens. And so all of these things were kind of birthed out of advocating for myself and just letting people know that I was available and interested.
Awesome. And just so people, for those who don't know, Monica has a bachelor's in English language and literature, and then also has a master's in broadcast journalism. So shout out to you. You fancy, huh?
I remember graduating from Georgetown and being like, I don't want to be pegged as solely an analyst. So let me go get these tools that will allow me to do this as a journalist and not just an analyst.
I was going to say too that journalism is a grind. Like it's tough. Just like we talk about how difficult it is to get a job in sports. I think journalism adds another layer, and it's harder, especially for people of color and women. So can you talk a little bit about that journey on how were you able to get to where you are today? Because that's difficult and it's challenging. And I want people to know and understand how that grind is, that extra love that you had to put into it to get to where you are.
Yeah, just all that pre-work.
Yeah. And it's an absolute exercise in patience and playing the long-term game. Right. It was so crazy because when I graduated from Georgetown, got my master's also at the University of Maryland. So I'm in that DC area, which is a top 10 market. Like, what's up? Like, I'm from here. I played ball. I know the area. Like, of course I should be your sports anchor, NBC4, like at 24, at 23. What do you mean? It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Not quite how it works, guys.
Let them know, because people are going to be listening like.
They want to know. Yeah.
Now, and it's interesting because I was actually having this conversation with my homegirl, China Robinson, yesterday, who's a guest I definitely recommend.
Okay.
And
check,
there
got
is
that.
So this is for me 2013. And there was this, and I still think to a degree this is true, but I don't think it has to be as harshly true as it was then. There was the notion of paying your dues. It wasn't about, when I look back at it, it wasn't that you can't be 25 in a top 10 market. It was that you need to have the type of seasoning that a top 10 market warrants. And while I had the enthusiasm and the knowledge, I did not have the reps, so to speak, cross sports, cross life reference. You got to get your reps, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think just as we see in sports, young people with the power of social media are beginning to specialize even in their career fields, particularly those that are in front of the camera earlier, so they can have some of that seasoning younger. So I am hesitant to just throw pay your dues out there. While I think there is a place for getting your reps and getting your seasoning, I don't think that should stop younger people, women, people of color from going after dreams that somebody else might say you're not ready for. Okay, so there's a little bit of a balance there. Now, for me personally, wasn't ready. Needed to go get my reps, right? And I was fortunate that a lot of my reps came. I got to stay in the DC area. I worked for the cable sister station to the ABC affiliate for 2 years. Then I got to move down to Florida. The network I worked with at the time was a hot mess, but I got to wear every hat. I was on the sideline for minor league baseball, like college football. I was hosting. And so it was all of these reps with fewer eyeballs on me. So the hiccups and the bumps and bruises that are inevitable were not put on Front Street, so to speak. And so, when I left that shop in Florida in 2017, it was because the shop was closing and we were laid off. And I remember having been through a layoff at that point thinking, oh, no big deal. Like, I'll get a job in 6 months, right? Which was, okay. It was positive, but maybe a little bit naive. It didn't happen for me that way. And so it took 18 months to kind of get back into it in a way in which I felt like this was a career. And I remember, because, in DC, like, not that I was dating, but just on the social scene, people always ask you, well, what do you do? And I remember being like, are you okay? Hold on, I'm thinking about what I do. Because right now I substitute teach, I teach cycle class.
You do a little bit of everything.
I'm doing a lot of things. And so, but for me, that window of time was so instrumental in separating who I am from what I do that I would not change a single thing about that season of my life.
I love it.
And so for me, paying your dues has not meant wait till you get a certain age to achieve something. It meant going to go get your reps. It meant growing as a person and not just a professional. And so here we are today.
Awesome. I love that. Just to hear that you were able to understand and respect that you had to pay your dues, because sometimes, we talked a little bit about this in our last episode, how we're just in this this like microwave type generation where we just want to wake up, click, and we want success instantaneously. And we don't want to put that grind, and we want to put that extra work in, and really acknowledge that we have to put in that extra time to get the respect that we want to have.
Yeah. And sometimes it does take a good 10 years of doing something consistently to finally see, reap those benefits. Like I feel like I'm finally in that place too. And I was telling Tania on one of our just episodes when it's just her and I, is like, I don't feel like I'm at a place where I need to do as much anymore in terms of like my emailing and all that. It's more of like, now it's just like, where does Shay fit and what fits Shay, right? And I think once you get to that place, it's like a really good harmony, and you're less afraid of, your output. You're less afraid of the things that, would make you very rigid in companies. Like, I need to do this, I need to do that. And it's more of just like about a feel. And I think that's how I see you right now. It's kind of doing what's so natural for you. Like, when I watch you on First Take or when you're doing those hot takes, I'm like, how is her take so hot? I don't understand. So talk about how much time do you put into your craft?
That preparation, yes.
You know what I mean?
Like,
because I feel the way that you just run it. I know that you're doing a lot of back work, but also I know you just know the game too. So you're watching, and also, so talk about that song and dance of just preparing and getting on and killing it the way you do.
The song and dance, that is what it is. Yeah. And girl, sometimes your feet hurt, turn the music off, like I got a headache, I need to go, just stop. I need a break. It's so crazy because when I got to Around the Horn, it was at the height of basketball season, which was very natural for me.
Yeah.
But as we rolled through the summer and we got to the World Series, I was looking like, oh, y'all still want me on the show? Right? And so I remember saying to my dad, like, it's starting to click why the monetary value is what it is for something that oftentimes feels like it comes naturally. It's because of the song and dance, of keeping up and paying attention and being educated for me. Right. And so it's funny, Shay, because my thing right now is my healthy relationship with no, right?
Ooh, I'm going through a season of no as well. So keep going.
Yes.
Okay. But it is also back to paying your dues, T, respecting what's in my hand, because I think gratitude is the purest way in which we force ourselves to be caretakers of whatever it is. And I am so grateful for all that's happening in terms of my career, y'all. Right?
Fire.
Like, I was without it, and don't get me wrong. If it was the end tomorrow, all right, thank God, I lived that life, I'm gonna move on. I will be okay. However, right now, I am careful and very, like, don't break this egg. Don't break this egg, right? And so that means get on Twitter, find out the scores. That means read an article. That means listen to a podcast when you rather listen to music while you're working out, because you need to be able to have it. Because when the lights go on, while I could make a joke of, hold on, let me get my notebook out, that would get old quickly, and I don't have time for that. And so it has to be there in a way that it just comes out naturally. Now, the beauty of hot takes is you don't always have to be right, but you got to be able to defend your stance.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that is from watching teams. Like, the Knicks are one of my day-to-day responsibilities. All right, as much as I'm watching the Knicks, I'm watching whoever came in and played the Knicks, so that when that conversation comes up versus another team, well, I saw XYZ at the Garden, and this is probably what you're going to see here, right? And so it's working smart.
Yeah.
And just, I'm fortunate that I love it. Now, to the healthy relationship with no, I'm very mindful that even though it is my job, I need a day. Like, I'm going to go watch Married at First Sight and not turn on a single sport thing and leave me alone, because I am rather a whole being.
Yeah. You know what? I love that. And it's funny because Shay and I have been talking about the season of no. I think Shay is like leading the pack. Like, no. But
And
seriously,
respectfully, but
absolutely,
it's a no for me.
Yeah, but you have to do that. And I think the more mature you get, especially not maturity it's in terms of age-wise, maturity in your craft, maturity in the work that you do, you begin to realize that you have to put yourself first or everything else is just going to fall, right? Like you have to make yourself a priority. And in order to do that, no has to be part of one of your tools in your tool belt. Yeah, for sure.
And it's a two-way thing. And that's why I always say my healthy relationship with it, because I can remember, and y'all know early in your career, it feels like all you get are no's, right?
Yeah.
And my mom was the first person I was like, girl, count them no's because you're getting closer to a yes. Right. And so now for me, it is
tweet that
to receive no without being decimated, right? To receive it, but also to use it in order to protect. Right. And so it's a two-way street. And I don't know when no became a bad word. Like, dog, I swear, y'all, I can remember being like 13, 14, or no, this maybe was like 16. I remember my homegirls, we just started driving. We get in the car. I gave someone my number. Why did you give him your number? You said you don't like him. Because he asked, what's wrong with no? Like, I don't understand this. Right. And so I don't know why no is such a bad word. And I'm not saying you got to deliver it with fire and brimstone.
Right.
But like, no.
Respectfully.
Honestly, like that doesn't work for me. And even if it is, this doesn't work, maybe that works. Negotiating, as long as you heard my no, that's the important part here.
Right.
Yeah. And respect your no too.
Right. But people also have to understand that no has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me and what I'm going through and the capacity that I have right now. Exactly. I don't have the capacity to do what you're asking or that's not where I'm going right now. Right. And so it's like respect the boundary.
Yeah. And I think for me, particularly if people that want to get into television are listening, I felt like, especially as I was, really kind of just starting to get rolling at ESPN, I felt like if I said no, I wasn't going to get asked again. Oh, no. That's not how it works.
That's not
never stop. Right. Yeah. And so if you don't turn it off, don't get me wrong. I love the company. I'm paid very well to do what I do. They would let me work 8 days a week. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't turn it off, it never stops coming. And so I think sometimes, particularly for us as women and Black women, we think that gratitude means I'm gonna let you work me to the bone. No. And then we think, oh, I'm the diverse candidate in this space. Like, let me continue to earn. Baby. When the truth is that whoever these folks are that are the decision makers, they need you or they need us as the diverse candidate just as much as we need the opportunity.
Right.
Yeah. And so this is a two-way street, and thus I will carry it as we are partners in the work.
Yeah. And we just have to communicate. Like that's it. And like, as long as you know where I stand, I know where you stand. Sometimes we're at a disagreement and that's all. Yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah.
So it's the human experience.
Right. Absolutely. So you brought up twice, and I think it's worth talking about, you talk about that right now, like you are paid well, but I do think what people have to understand is in terms of journalism and the work that you do, you might not see the monetary value up front. You talked about putting in your dues and getting to a certain place and putting in that work. So talk a little bit about, because again, everyone wants success right away. And oftentimes people confuse making a good living in terms of a monetary wage with success. And they don't always go hand in hand. And then you might have to wait to get to, of course, where you are today. Like you've earned it. But talk a little bit about the time that it takes, when you first started in journalism, that you may not be able to see that monetary value right up front.
Yeah. So my first actual job when I got out of grad school, God, I was making, was it $12.50 or $10? One of those hourly, right?
Okay. So let's pause right there. $10 to $12.50 hourly, guys, and she just finished with a master's degree. Okay. Yeah. So let that resonate a little bit.
Okay. And T's in HR, so she's giving y'all that real stuff. So
something like that, right? And I was working at Prince George's Community Television. And again, all right, pay my dues. I gotta go somewhere and start getting tape. I wasn't even solely a reporter. I was also working as a photographer for the station, right?
You do it all. Take pictures.
Honey, let's versatility.
Psycho classes.
Me. You need too many people to replace me, okay?
Scarcity, okay? These qualities are scarce.
All right. So let me think. I was there for 6 months. And you know, glory to God on that one. My first job, official job in DC at the sister station, I was making $55 a year. And that was as a MMJ, multimedia journalist, one-man band, take the camera out, shoot your stories, turn your packages, the whole bit. I left that job. I took the position in Florida. Now, this is where the first get over happened in my career, y'all. And I didn't realize this till after the fact. I was making, I think I made, they upped me 10 grand. I was making like 65 as a regional sports network anchor.
Wow.
They had got over on me by about 40 grand.
Okay.
I was going to say, that's a lot of work. Yes.
Yeah. So at the time, Sinclair, which is one of the power players in ownership of local television stations in the country, they were launching a college sports network.
Okay.
And so they asked me to come down and be one of the anchors / analysts, like one of the lead folks on it.
Okay.
And now it's a blessing and a curse, because at the time I had a good friend in HR, was working on my muscle of negotiating, but I hadn't done my necessary research, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember having a conversation with, which was the initial GM that hired me, thinking I'm doing something, getting this extra 10 grand. And for real, he's like smirking, like, oh, that's all you want? Like, whatever. So
we know
that for me was 65K. But mind you, I was living in Florida, single. I was 26 at the time, maybe 25, 26. And we crushed overtime. Like, the leadership of that place was ridiculous. We crushed overtime. But I found out later that some of my male counterparts were making more closer to that actual regional salary, which is like that 80 to 120 range.
And you over here like,
hello?
Excuse me.
And it was especially frustrating because I was the one that was all in, because some of them came from other places where they, you know, they had attitudes and egos, but I was the one like, oh, you're not gonna put me on TV, but you want me to do digital this week? Okay, I'm all in on digital. But again, in my mind, this was a means to an end. Like, this was just the next step in my journey. If nothing else, I'm gonna leave this place with clean tape to show the next spot. So when that joint shut down, that was when I got into the real freelance life. And honestly, T, and I'd say this all the time, I'm now on the board at some of the programs at my graduate school for the journalism. There needs to be a class on freelancing.
Shout out to that.
Because, yes, indeed. Because we were taught, these are the things you do to get a job. Go be great. And that's not, it's certainly now is not the way the industry works. And then it was changing. Like, if you could not create a network as a freelancer, you was out of luck, because the full-time jobs just didn't come the way they once did, when people still picked up their paper and opened it to the sports section or whatever. And so for that almost 2 years, 18 months, I had to learn how to freelance. And for me, that meant embracing the slash, because I wasn't in a position to cover sports full-time. Like I said, I was teaching cycle classes. I was substitute teaching. I was doing this on the side when I could. And you negotiate whatever your salaries are.
Right.
I remember doing Big East digital games for $500 a game. I was doing radio games over at Howard for like $350. Something came my way and I got paid a stack for a game, and I was like, whoa, like, this is whoa, like,
mind blown.
Yeah, I'm like, oh. So so those were all like price points. And mind you, the $500 a game, that wasn't coming 5 days a week. Like, that was maybe 3-4 games in a month. You know what I'm saying? So you are piecing it together. Now, I will say, in my story, I am very fortunate to have incredible parents who have looked me in the face and said, we didn't pay you for college. Like, come home, figure it out. Like, we got your back.
Right.
And so it was more of an ego thing for me at 26, coming back from Florida after having my own apartment and doing my thing, to move back into my parents' basement.
Yeah.
But my parents always had my back. And so I was fortunate to be able to piece it together. But I understand some of my colleagues in the space that don't have that luxury, whether it be because they have other responsibilities or don't have that type of support.
Yeah. Shout out to Monica's parents. What are their names? Let's give them a shout out.
Kevin and Desiree, and those my people.
Hey, peeps. Shout out to Kevin and Desiree.
Yeah. And Monica's dad is her first coach too.
He was
so
my first coach.
he put her onto the game.
Love that.
She mentioned this, but she played at Georgetown. Amazing. And then you got your post-grad degree at Maryland.
Yeah,
right?
my master's
in Maryland.
Yep.
Okay. And so you have a lot of tipping the scale moments along your journey, which tipping the scales means basically turning the permissions on in your life to live the way you want authentically, and being able to tip the scale back and forth, like you said, like that operation shut down. I had to figure out what I was going to do. Like I had to freelance, I had to figure out. So in terms of, forget all of that stuff, but like internally, the self-talk, how did you have faith to continue? Like what are some of the things and tips? And like, I know I write in my journal, I talk to myself, I write positive affirmations. Like I do a bunch of stuff. I read, I Google. What are some of the things that you did to kind of like keep yourself from wavering? Like today I posted on Instagram, it says, don't give up on the person you're becoming. Because, you know, sometimes when you're becoming, you know, you get those like signs of people saying like, dang, Shay, you changed. Or like, and you're like, you know what? It's easy to just go back. It's like, you know, when you keep getting those the jokes that are real, that you just, it just hurts you. So how do you keep, you know, maneuvering? And then also being at a huge network and being in front of millions of people judging you, seeing you, you know, I just love how you are. So what are those things? I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but I just feel like you have so much to tell. So
girl, I don't know if you know this, Shay, but the first time we hadn't met yet, but Chloe was like, have you met Shay? And it's Chloe Pavlik, y'all, who we love.
Amazing.
And I was like, no. She's like, oh my God, like y'all are like twins. You need to meet her. Like you and Shay, y'all are gonna be so. And she was spot on.
I recognize that.
Saying, like, yeah. As you were saying, like journaling and affirmation. I'm like, yes, that, all those things. All those things. I think if I were, let me think. Let me see. In my stillest moments, I think that 18-month run for me was about being comfortable, being still. And I can't, it's somewhere in Psalm, right? Like it's a passage about the stillness.
And what happens in that stillness, right?
Yeah.
Like
right.
Okay.
And so I remember journaling one day and I landed on that scripture. And it was about the stillness by the brook and something. I'm messing up scripture. Sorry to my Bible folks. But anyway, the thought, like as I was sort of envisioning and thinking on it, you know, these brooks or whatever, these moments, brooks are like not next to the highway. They're not downtown. Like they're somewhere.
They're out there. They're
out there. Like
tumbleweeds and
you know what I'm saying? Like you went through this path. Maybe you got off the path and you found this still moment.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it was about really embracing the detour and understanding that who you are before success will only be revealed by success.
Yes.
Right? Like I remember getting on Indeed and looking for regular jobs and like feeling sick, like feeling it, like this can't be it.
Yeah.
Maria Taylor is amazing. She was doing something on TV one day and I remember being like, she's not worlds better than me. Like I can do this. You know what I mean? And that wasn't to slight her.
Of course.
But for me, it was watching my dreams and being like, I just don't understand this block right now. I just don't understand it. And so again, embracing that stillness. And I had legitimately, y'all, and this wasn't from a defeated place, but I was like, okay, if it doesn't come back in the way I envision it, I can still have a full and impactful life. I'm going to go teach English because being a substitute teacher has been kind of lit and I'm enjoying these knucklehead kids. I'm going to go teach English and I'm going to coach basketball and I'm going to do this on the side. And if it comes back, it comes back. If it doesn't, life will not end here, right? And so it was such an exercise for me as a person, right? Like, you know, you never have to go to a small market, work in DC, work in Florida, making more money than most of your peers at the time. Like, even if I had not identified it as that was happening, I had very much attached my value to what I was doing. And so for it to be ripped away and to be able to look in the mirror and say, I'm worthy of love, I have so much to give just because I am, was like, oh, y'all can't touch me. And so now I can say no because I have been without this. Baby, I have been without it. And let me tell you, having money ain't everything that people think, right? Exactly. And not that I'm loaded, but success costs.
Yeah.
That point in my life, my grandparents were still with me. My god babies were smaller, picking up folks from school, going to play cards with my grandparents. Let's make brownies. Like all of these things that I was able to do in that season of my life, I wish I had time to do now.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I would trade one or the other, but it was realizing that there's a life outside your dreams in a healthy way. Again, not that I was giving up on my dreams, but putting them in perspective. And so I think that was truly the tip in the scales moment for me. And so now I can show up, girl, let me tell you, when I got to the point where I didn't even take the time to put coils in these things, it was like, oh, give me this eyeliner and some lip gloss. Let's go. Like the skill was knocked over. Like y'all finna get all of this. Like
and
here
thank you
I
to
am.
the pandemic for that, because I learned that about myself too.
Like the scale got thrown out the window. Like,
okay,
if I can't do it my way, I'm not going to do it, and I will be okay.
yeah.
And so I think that season for me was really my biggest tipping the scales moment.
That is just so encouraging.
And thank you for
I
that.
Think, yes, it just means a lot because we don't understand. Sometimes the journey can be very tough.
Mm-hmm.
And we see this path for ourselves that it's just a straight path. We're going to walk on it, or we're going to run, or whatever it is. We may have some different turns, and our life may take us in different directions. And oftentimes we don't prepare ourselves for that.
Mm-hmm.
And when we hit a wall, that's when you really have to hunker down and begin to plan what's next. And we always talk about that. So I just thank you for sharing that, because someone out there needed to listen to that and hear your story.
Yeah, I love that, T. And I think, so the two questions, well, there were three things that really were birthed out of that season in my life. That was where I first started to grasp my healthy relationship with no. Because I was trying to get jobs, but I was getting lots of no's. And then it was the ability, oh my gosh, my brain just went blank on me though here. What's my thought? It was, what am I supposed to be learning? Was the question that I asked myself. And so then, like, growing up, I was broke, became the best budgeter ever.
Okay.
Right. And so now that I have, like, I can also budget. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so
at
I think,
a higher level.
Yeah, at a higher level, right?
Yeah.
I think what am I supposed to be learning was huge for me. It was okay. All right, I can be without X, or I can make an impact by. And it had nothing to do with this stuff. Now, all the platform elevation, again, I'm incredibly grateful. But I think, and now even whatever the challenge is, what am I supposed to be learning is a huge question for me.
Wow.
I think that's huge for listeners to take that thought is, right, is what am I supposed to be learning? Because, and I always tell, we talked about this on the podcast before, but like, once you start to recognize those feelings like of uncertainty, which breeds anxiety, and then you have a good relationship with stillness, you can say, all right. And you can ask yourself that question. What am I supposed to be learning in this moment?
Yeah.
And it will reveal itself. Like, there's so many times where I thought, this is the end. When I remember when I was leaving the Sixers, and I keep referencing this moment, but this is like a really pivotal moment for me. So I hate that I'll have to always go there. And I know they're probably like, can she stop saying that already?
What was the turning point for you?
Right, let's go. I want to hear it.
But I just feel like in that moment, like you said, in terms of the budgeting, like I didn't have to budget yet, but I imagined in my head, I said, okay, if I didn't have this job, I'm already living below my means because I was already imagining it. Like, in terms of just being like, okay, rent's this much. Like if I have to go get a job at Target or wherever the case may be, because, sometimes sports jobs are very hard to come by. So you can't just think you're going to leave one job and think you're going to get another amazing job. So the fact that I was able to leave the Sixers and get a job at Overtime and negotiate staying in Philly and going to New York when I wanted to, not when I wanted to, but every week, different times of the week, I thought, how did I get blessed with more? You know what I mean? When I thought that I was going to have to take less. But I think it was just a matter of just sitting in that moment and saying, God, I don't want to be here. This is very toxic for me. Please show me the way. Praying, putting a plan together. So doing everything I needed to do to meet halfway. And then the rest just started to happen. So it's like, and I recognize those moments now where I just say, I feel that uncomfortable coming. And I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to imagine, okay, if I don't have this, what are my next steps? What am I going to be able to do? Am I going to be able to live without?
Yeah. I appreciate the story because I have a good friend of mine who is a chief marketing officer. She's been doing it for quite some time. And she's hit a roadblock in the sense that, she used to be in television, went to non-for-profit, and she feels as if the non-for-profit experience has hurt her in terms of what her next big gig is going to be as a CMO. So, she's been applying to a lot of positions and she keeps getting told no. And she's amazing at her job and her interviews go great. So, we've been talking about it. She's like, T, I don't understand why I keep hearing a no. And I said, you need to figure out what it is because, I'm a woman of faith. My parents are ministers. And sometimes when we talked about that stillness, but understanding what your purpose is in that moment. Yeah. And I told her, your calling maybe have been shifted to what you think it should be. So right now you think about, I want to be the next CMO, but what about you starting your own company where you can go in and share best practices and start your own marketing firm,
and teach other people.
Okay, because this is something that you're really good at, and you talked about wanting to do it. So maybe God is shutting those doors for a reason. So figure out what your purpose is, and then recollect your thoughts and work on what's next for you. Stop trying to keep you're hitting that wall for a purpose. Figure out what your direction is and let's start moving forward with that. So you're in a perfect opportunity. You're in a perfect place that you have a time on your hands that you can start working on your own company. So that's what we're talking about. So I'm glad that she heard you today because she was meant to hear this episode today for sure.
I love that. I
That's dope.
that.
That's dope.
Until you actually reminded me of that other thing from my little 18-month life learning lab. It was the supposed to's mess us up.
Say that again.
The supposed to's mess us up. Right. And I think that
made me want to cry.
You're right. Girl, but think about it, y'all.
Okay.
And I think that one was not only birthed professionally, but it was also birthed personally for me. Because when I got laid off from a job in Florida, the fall before, I'd ended a 9-year deal with my college sweetheart, the whole thing, right? So in my mind, compounding this season of hey, you need to really learn about who you are separate from all these things was the supposed to be married, supposed to be on baby number 2, supposed to be national career-wise already, all these supposed to's in my mind.
Yes.
And I'm you have to let that go. It's not that we are not without goals. It's not that we are not ambitious. It's not that we don't want to find places where our gifts and talents best fit. But I really do think we can be our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
Because I'm supposed to be doing whatever. And Lord, the pressure of the social, that just adds another layer to it. But again, in that stillness, I am supposed to be right here. I'm supposed to be learning. I'm supposed to be growing. I'm supposed to be stretched because the next door is going to open. But will I be prepared?
That's true. Love that.
And I'm so glad you brought up your love life.
So listen.
This is Shay, the segment where we pivot.
Wait, Shay, you have to, I literally, how sometimes and it's funny because you brought it up, I know I keep talking about this. I said to myself, listen.
We're our own worst enemy. That's all. I'm just talking.
So I'm going to tell you legit what I did because, we talk about being authentic.
Yeah.
I looked in a mirror today and I said, T, you better not bring up love relationships. You keep talking about it. You need to let it go. Because I don't want you to, I'm having this whole talk with myself in the mirror. I don't want you to come across as desperate. You keep talking about it. Leave it alone. And I said, I'm never going to bring it back up on the podcast again. This is what I said. I said, okay, I'm done.
But you got to realize too, you're in a season. So don't tell yourself that. And you have to manifest and speak it into existence, put it in the universe.
Yeah.
But I say that too, because it's very rare that you have 3 Black women on a show who are successful, whose schedule is ridiculous, but we're making time to be communal and talk to each other. And although we're not therapists, this is therapy in a way.
For sure.
Right? Okay. So I feel like when she brought up her 9-year relationship, I just want to know your take on love. Me and T talk about love when it's just her and I on the show.
All the time. Yeah.
All the time. All the time.
Even off the show. I'm like, Shay.
Yeah, even off the show.
I need a little, because Shay's I call her Dr. Love. So
Shay is all about love. No, that's an app. That's
right?
An app's nickname.
Yeah,
thank you.
So I have to call Dr. Love Shay, I'm feeling down and out because it's tough, right? So for me, I'm 44, exactly. I'm single. There's this, you talked about expectations. So there's this expectation or supposed to, I'm supposed to be married.
Yes. And that's why.
My son is grown and he's on his own. And I, if I'm being honest, it's lonely sometimes coming home to an empty house. It just really is. And,
right.
I'm getting a house built and, I was taking, wanted to take a picture of me, when the lamb, let's take a picture. I had this sadness that I was overcome with, just filled with sadness. And it was great that, yes, I'm building this house, but at the same time, and I felt like that's great. You know, I was a single mom. I worked hard for this, but the sadness came from, I would rather be doing it with someone else. I would rather be building a house with someone who I can share it with. So that was like a pivotal moment for me, because it's this emptiness that I feel inside by not having someone with me. So
yeah, so we need.
Thank you, Shay, for opening that wound.
Well, I mean, we're in conversation, so that's just, it's just whatever. But give me your first take on love, like love and success.
Hold on, I got to talk to my sis real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Now I am someone who I don't think carried that, and I'm younger than you, and I'll acknowledge that, right? But I will say, as I went through my process on this, the decision was, even if, you know what I'm saying? Like, to take the sting out of it. I remember writing it down. I remember telling it to my friends. I remember not wanting to have these conversations because I think, again, not that it's not beautiful, and I'm very happy, but I think we romanticize it and we overlook how well our hearts are taken care of in spite of.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, like, I know you want that and I want that for you. But my question to myself was, so if I live the rest of my days on this earth single, I will see the globe. I will be an incredible sister. I'm a wonderful daughter. I have amazing friends. My heart is still cared for. And so I had to take the sting out of it so that it wasn't something that weighed on me in a negative way. In fact, having honest conversations with couples was like, oh, that's what you deal with? That's how it works? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was, when those moments hit, it was, but you know what? Thank you, God, that I can do this on my own. Or thank you, God, for this group of friends. Like, and now my strategy, whenever anxiousness, because we all have those things that trigger us, right?
For sure.
Or being overwhelmed even just from our schedule. It is take a deep breath, count to 10, and literally count some blessings in my life to change the way that my mind is going.
Yeah.
Right? And it becomes a muscle. Like, your son is a professional athlete. We all work in sports or whatever. Like, it becomes a muscle, and training ourselves to think in a way that uplifts our spirits. And not that you're not human and shouldn't have those feelings, but I would just challenge you to take this thing out of it. Like, so what? You know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, you're going to run up on somebody just when you least expect it, just because that's how it's going to go.
And she's fine. So she's
right. And you're gorgeous and you have so much to offer.
Yeah.
But even if, like, you the flyest mama / auntie / god sister, like, you will still have an amazing life. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that was always kind of my encouragement. And I know, you know, when I met my current boyfriend, like, it was very much like, I'm working on me, and not in the nasty way, but like, I was so focused on trying to get back on track in my career. Like, I was pouring into all of that. It just kind of was like, we met at the combine, literally. Like, we met at work. You know what I'm saying? And so I would just encourage you to know that what's for you is for you, right? And in those moments, because they come, they're human, it's human, we're women, just to really kind of train your muscle of your mind, just to flip the script. Because there's so, oh my God, T. Like, and I don't have to tell you this, but like, you have so much to offer. I know that I can already tell that you have great relationships in your life, because you're someone that's probably great to be in a relationship with. And I think we do this thing with, like, the romantic relationships, but all of our relationships take care and energy.
Yeah.
You know? So girls, celebrate that house, honey. You better get that plot of land and get up there and twerk whatever you gotta do, okay? All right.
And that's another thing too. She's been coming out her shell a lot too. So she just needs to, like, you know, like you said.
I'm telling you, dog, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna come back on the podcast. The guest, you're gonna be like, dog, I'm so sick of looking at dirty drawers and sneakers. Like, I love him, but okay.
I love him, but okay.
Oh gosh,
literally
that's hilarious.
So just, I mean, it's going to happen in time. And I think all of our seasons, and that's the part of it. When I look back at my course to getting to this point, there's something for us to love and enjoy about every season, right? Like, now,
love it.
Again, happy situation, but he works in sports too. And y'all, the thought of, like, us getting to an altar +1 and our careers, like, gives me heart palpitations.
Me too. Absolutely. Like, every time, like, when we came back from our road trip the other day, and we got back late. But I was like, dang, thank God I don't have kids right now. To go pick up and, like, oh God.
Are you kidding me?
It's a grind. Yeah.
So I swear.
So like, every season has something. So, but Shay, to your question of love, I think love is very much a choice. love is very much signing up to stand next to you in the trenches. Because it ain't never always rosy, like ever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And so I think, you know, my grandparents divorced when I was a little girl. Actually, they probably divorced when my parents, when my dad and his sister were little. And my grandmother has passed, but I was shocked. She said to my sister and I that she probably could have made that marriage work if she wanted to. Right?
Wow.
And mind you, they divorced 60 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever it was.
That's
transparent. But that was one of those moments where I was like, oh, it really is a choice.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, because of the demands of our career, it is, and oh God, y'all, I remember when we, you know, started talking, whatever, getting serious, it was kind of like, you know, I think at this point for me, choosing to be with someone is to choose your dreams over mine almost. And ideally it would be reciprocated.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Not me sacrificing solely, but you also sacrificing for me. And like this was, mind you, we met after I started to hit a little bit of stride of calling my own shots, you know, money starting to flow a little bit. Like,
you're feeling good. You feel you feeling good about yourself.
And I'm like, bro, like, don't waste my time, because like I was good before you. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's way too much work to be with you. So if you're gonna play with me, like, just tell me now, we'll move on. It was cool, peace, right? And so I mean, I'm very happy, but I think the reality of choosing someone and their stuff, the good stuff and the bad stuff.
Okay.
Intentionally. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's work. It's work. It is a whole nother job, yo. Like,
yeah, and this girl she's at work now and it's Sunday. Okay, let's not forget.
I do. My schedule, like the two of you, my schedule is insane. And I think too that because oftentimes you people say, well, T, you meet people all the time. Like, why don't you just date some of the people? I'm going to be very careful about who I choose to put in my space, because I did not make great decisions in the past. Mm-hmm. And every decision and all the things that you learn in life, there's that coachable moment that you have within yourself. And you learn from, you should. If you're not learning, you're not growing.
Hello?
So you learn from each, I want to say failure, but each.
No, say that. Go ahead. We need to take the sting out of that too.
Okay. So yeah, because if it's not working, it's a failure, right? So for each failure, you need to look at the situation and examine, what did I learn from it? How can I be different the next time? And how can I ensure that I am getting what I need out of a situation? Because I think in the past, I've certainly compromised my own happiness in order for situations to work. And I'd be damned if I'm, looking at 45, I'm going to be walking into a relationship where I am going to not I want to say compromise, because I think relationships are about compromise, but I am going to make sure that those things that I need, I'm not going to look past them anymore.
Right.
And I think that's so important. I will also say one of the things that stopped me in my tracks, because my best friend got married two years ago. But one of the things that stopped me in my tracks in this, like, before you meet somebody thing was, are you ready to be the partner to the partner you want? And I was like, oh, actually, I don't know about that. Like, let me self-check here. Let me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that stopped me on my track. But before that, one of my therapist friends that used to take my cycle class, she gave me this tool, y'all. And you can use it not just in romance. I've used it on jobs since then, and just other categories.
Okay, so well, give it to us, because
I got you. Shay, you're gonna love this because we journalers.
Okay.
She calls it the ABC list, right? So on your A list, you write down, like, if it's a job or a partner, whatever. I've done it for partners. You write down every single thing you want. Nothing too small. Nothing. Everything you want. Shoe size, ring size, hair color, like
everything.
Okay. Can he cook, like, whatever.
That's your A list. Okay.
The A list,
like a Minecraft game. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So you got one pen for the A list, right? The B list, you take another pen. You mark off the things that are non-negotiable.
Okay.
Non-negotiable.
Non-starters.
Okay. So all your wants, that's A. Your B is
Non-negotiables.
Okay, non-negotiables. Okay.
C, you need a dark pen for the C. I recommend a dark pen. C,
Wait, give the visual. She has color-coded pens for all of this, guys. She's on point.
Find my journal, y'all can see my list, right? The C list, you mark off the things that you have already had.
Okay.
Okay.
So the exercise is, what have you fallen for and what do you need?
Okay.
Right? And so then as you move forward, she's like, so when you're dating, like you meet somebody, open your book up, check your non-negotiables. Do they fit the non-negotiables? And then you can compartmentalize where this is going or if it should go any further.
Right.
But I've done it for jobs. I've done it over relationships. Like I haven't done it for dinner. I ain't that type A.
Yeah, that's A-type.
Wow.
Right. But I just thought it was such an incredible tool.
Yeah.
To really, because one, you got to be still enough to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then I think for me, my ex was ex-athlete, 6'4", whatever. Current, hopefully we get to the altar. I feel like we'll get to the altar. Anyway, this is my height. Like,
is he listening? Because he needs
no. Like, but he's amazing. Like all of the non-negotiables are checked.
Yeah.
In a way that like, and this is why I tell you, like every season is something. In a way that I almost feel checked sometimes. And I am challenged by him sometimes, right? And I'll be like, you know what, for real, like I was good. I don't feel like, tell me about myself. So anyway, I just think that exercise is so powerful because you gotta see what is actually important.
Yeah.
Like
I only have one exercise that not that I do, but I did when Nafis was like the one.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked myself, I said, if you guys had $0 to your name, would you still be happy with him?
That's a good question.
That was a question and I did that exercise to the guy that I was dating before I told Nafis that I wanted to, be with him. And then I just went down the line of the last, I was like, nobody in my past, if we had $0, I would want to be with them. Not because they weren't good enough, but because the way Nafis protects me, the way he always thinks about me, even if I'm annoying or I'm mean, the way he gives me my space, that's the stuff that those other people didn't have. You know what I mean? Like they might have had the other stuff in terms of monetary and this, and this. But when it came down to like caring for me, my soul and my well-being, regardless if we were together or not, I know Nafis would just always, So I said, boom, $0. He's my guy.
Love it.
We out here on these homeless streets. We getting it. You know what I'm saying?
All I need in this life is sin.
If he got a PB&J sandwich, he gonna slice that in half and give it to me, and we gonna be cool.
So, and some water. You can wash it down with some water. You're good.
So now when we get our millions, like it's gonna be like, what you need, boo? And I'm gonna be like, so
love it. So, Monica, before you go, selfishly, because I have to tap into the analyst role within you.
Yes.
Okay. So I have to, I'm a diehard Phoenix Suns fan now. I'm invested personally into this.
Give it to us.
So you've been looking at the NBA season this year. So for the season so far, like, what are you feeling within the teams? What do you think is going to happen this season?
Yeah, who's winning the championship? Who's MVP?
Like I say, like all the way down.
Yeah, all the way down. Run it.
Yeah, and look, I can be objective. Like I understand.
You can't, stop lying. I wouldn't even fake it like that.
I can. Yes, I can.
Like, let me go put my Suns jersey on before you answer this question.
Well, hold on. Let me get something. In case.
There you go. Come on.
When I say objective, let's turn it around.
There you go.
So you guys get a visual. I just pulled out Mikhail's jersey. But I'm definitely
bottom drawer.
But I'm objective though. But go ahead.
Of course, absolutely objective. The most objective out here. I think, and again, like in the same kind of mindfulness that we're having on this podcast, and I'm gonna answer all the questions for y'all. But I think Mike Breen said this the other day, and I was like, wow, let me think about that. He's like, with our platforms in the media, decisions on awards can be made just by what we're saying, whether we realize that or not. Mm-hmm. And so I take it very seriously to watch a team and see what's up, right?
Yeah.
Warriors are flashy, great, delicious. I don't think the Warriors are going to win a title this year. I don't think that it's going to be as seamless as everybody believes when Klay gets back on the floor. And I think as we're seeing, as Steph is chasing this title right now, yes, he's the greatest three-point shooter in the game.
By far.
That's not new.
Yeah.
And I think to assume that he's automatic all the way through is to discredit how hard coaches that focus on defense work in this league.
Hence the Sixers game the other day. But
right, the Sixers game, Memphis last year, the game that kind of took me viral, which was hilarious. And the ability of the other team to have players that make shots. So when I look at the West, I'm really keyed in on Phoenix and Utah personally.
Okay.
I think the Warriors are very good, and I could be wrong on this, but I think Utah's experience, having been a top team in the West the past couple seasons and coming up short, there's only but so many times you let that happen, and with the same roster, right? I also think, unlike Golden State, Phoenix returned everybody from that run, and it ain't nothing like having the same squad. Yeah, the Warriors got a beautiful blend of veteran talent and young guys, but they ain't been there. Like, Phoenix returned everybody, plus you add JaVale McGee, which I think is a big deal. I don't know if people are giving that as much credit as it is.
They need to.
I like Phoenix and Utah coming out of the West. I think Memphis can shake some things up. I think that's a very good team. They're on a hot streak right now without Ja, but I've been on Memphis for a minute now as a young squad. In the East, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucks repeat, but I think people forget that Victor Oladipo is going to get healthy for Miami.
Which I can't wait for. Bless his heart. I'm just praying for him, throwing one up for him.
Jimmy Butler obviously is down right now. Bam Adebayo gets healthy. Like, that's a group too. To me, last year, you got to remember how much they dealt with COVID. You know what I'm saying? So they're
very battle tested.
Yeah, right. I like Miami. I think they have depth. By virtue of the injuries that they're dealing with right now, some of the guys deeper on the roster are getting valuable minutes. Like Max Strus is the bona fide pro. Like Caleb Martin, Caleb's in Miami, I think. Pro, like buckets. And they will be able to stem the tide enough that when everybody's making their pushes post All-Star break, if they're healthy, I think Miami's a team that you can't sleep on. So I like Miami and Milwaukee. The Sixers looked really good the other night when they beat the Warriors. And I think Joel Embiid is such a unique specimen. I am not sure if they run into a team like Miami that has the size with a healthy Bam and the shooting to match what Seth Curry does. I'm not sure that I'm taking the Sixers, and I love Doc, but I think he struggled in the playoffs with decision-making late game.
Yeah.
And so if you had to give me Spo or Doc, I don't think I'm taking Spo. If both teams are healthy. I think when it comes to awards this year, I think Joel Embiid should be seriously in the MVP conversation this year. And I also think you got to look at Chris Paul. I don't know if people took him seriously last year as a candidate for that, but look what he's doing with that team.
Yeah, I could say for Chris, he honestly makes every single player on that floor better. Like, he's brought out the best in Mikal, and he's brought out the best in his team. So shout out to Chris. And I love his mama, Robin. Hey, Robin.
So, oh my God. So I called his HBCU tip-off for D2 schools in Mohegan and the HBCU showcase that we did at Mohegan. His mom came up to me and was like, I love you. And I was like, me? Me? She's like, can we take a picture? Then his dad comes like, nuh-uh, y'all not taking this picture without me. You wouldn't even have known she was here if I didn't tell you. And I'm like, yeah, he's like, me? Like, you guys are amazing.
They got great peeps. Yeah.
They're such great people. And Chris is really a salt of the earth type of dude, like very intentional, very thoughtful in all that he does. So I think it's going to be an incredible NBA season the rest of the way. I think Mikal is making a great case for that Defensive Player of the Year conversation.
Put some respect on my boy's name, okay?
No facts.
He better be on that team this year. Like, come on, he
when he wears those
it.
yellow shoes, okay? When he wears those yellow shoes, you can't do nothing with him, okay? Check for the yellow shoes.
Facts. Like, and I think what's cool about the way Mikal and Matisse Thybulle are the two young guys that kind of come to my mind in that category.
Right.
As like perimeter defenders, not guys that's just blocking shots.
Yeah.
I think what's cool about them, at least Mikal more than Matisse, is he also gonna hit you a shot. Like, you can stretch the floor. You got to play him honestly because he'll knock down that corner three and keep it pushing.
3-and-D, baby.
Matisse got to be able to shoot the ball a little bit better. But I just think his versatility, I think the upside for him is tremendous, and he should definitely be in that conversation this year.
Boom.
Do you ever see a situation where coaches get like back-to-back player of the year? I don't even keep I don't even keep tabs on coaches getting coach of the year, but Monty is just like killing it. Like, his philosophy and what he's doing.
Because of media fatigue, I don't think that's going to happen for Monty.
Media fatigue.
But I also think that if Memphis lives up to it, then Taylor probably should be in that conversation.
Okay.
Taylor Jenkins.
I like it.
I think what Memphis is doing. And I think you got to look at Chicago too. Like, who had the Bulls doing what they doing? Come on now. And they got 9
shout out to Mark
COVID.
Eversley. Okay.
Yeah,
GM over
like,
there.
Hey, Mark.
We miss you.
We do.
So I think there's going to be a great amount of candidates around the league. I'm really excited the way things are going to shape
Thank you.
out. Fun.
Me too.
Oh,
Well,
see,
Monica,
we have to have you
amazing.
back, first of all. Like,
Of
this
course.
was such an overall great episode, from getting your advice on journalism to love to the grind to sports. Like, you
to
are
stillness.
amazing. Yes.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
You.
We appreciate
Thank
you. Make sure you guys follow us, Tipping the Scales, wherever you get your podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. And thank you for tuning in every week. Check us out on
Thanks,
Thursday.
guys.
Thank you.